In October 2010, a megachurch pastor in Georgia walked to his pulpit and said three words that would change everything. I am gay. His name was Jim Swilley. For nearly 4 decades, he had preached the gospel, led worship, baptized families, and built one of the largest independent congregations east of Atlanta called Church in the Now in Conyers, Georgia. He was a husband twice, a father of 4, and a man who had been carrying a secret since childhood. Jim Swilley did not come out because of a scandal. There was no affair, no tabloid story, no secret recording. He came out because he could not watch another teenager die. In the fall of 2010, names like Tyler Clementi, Billy Lucas, and Asher Brown dominated national headlines. All of them were young people who had taken their own lives after being bullied for being gay.
If my coming out can save even one kid, then it's worth it.
He knew that his truth could cost him everything: his reputation, his ministry, even his livelihood. But he also knew that silence was costing lives. Jim went on to say,
I know a lot of straight people think orientation is a choice, but it is not. I have always known 2 things: that I was called to preach, and that I was gay. I am tired of living in conflict with myself, and I want to be an example of honesty, especially for the young people who believed God hated them.
In the congregation that night was his then-wife, Debye Swilley. She had known for years. She had been his confidant, his closest ally, and ultimately the one who told him it was time. She said, you tell people every week that God loves them just as they are, but you do not give yourself that same grace. She divorced him not because she stopped loving him, but to set him free. And when he came out publicly, she stood beside him, not in shame, but in solidarity. The reaction was immediate and fierce. Some members left the church that week. Others stayed, confused but loyal. Donations dropped, staff left, and eventually the megachurch that had once filled thousands of seats on Sundays began to shrink. Church in the Now never recovered its former size or influence. Outside those walls, the backlash was even harsher. Religious leaders denounced him. Some said he had lost his faith. Others said he was possessed. But at the same time, he began receiving messages from across the country: pastors who were still in the closet, teens who finally felt seen, parents who said his courage gave them hope. Jim Swilley paid the price for his honesty, but he refused to disappear. In time, he started a new church in Midtown Atlanta. Smaller, quieter, focused on the people who had been hurt or rejected by religion. He called it a space for healing, a place for honesty. In 2014, he married his husband, Ken. He kept preaching, and though the spotlight faded, he never stopped living his truth. Meanwhile, Debye continued her own ministry work and never renounced him. She remained a living example of what it means to love someone beyond rules, labels, or doctrine. Here is what most people do not know. When pastors in the South come out, they do not just lose their pulpit, they lose their legacy, their photos are taken down, their sermons are deleted from archives. The churches they built pretend they never existed. And that is what nearly happened to Jim Swilley. But his story still matters because it is not just about sexuality or theology. It is about the cost of truth, about what happens when you choose integrity over image. Jim Swilley chose his life over his lie. He chose authenticity over approval. And even though the church tried to erase him, his courage continues to echo through every person who has ever sat in a pew and wondered if being honest would destroy everything. If you have ever heard of another pastor who came out, or if you have lived through your own version of this story, share it in the comments. When we tell these stories, we reclaim the histories that others tried to erase. Like, subscribe, and share this video if you believe truth deserves to be remembered. Because sometimes choosing honesty in the Bible Belt means losing everything except your soul. Truth might cost you your legacy, but silence will always cost lives.